What is social media? Can you tell me what social media is?
I have no idea.
What is social media?
I like Star Wars.
That's great. Thanks for answering the question. Do you tweet?
No, but my mom says I toot.
Yeah, it happens sometimes, right?
What's toot?
It means fart.
Ew!
What do you want me to tweet?
Why don't you tweet your butt?
Tweet my butt. What's Pinterest? Thank you for that very eloquent answer. Word association, Star Wars.
Obi-Wan.
Disney World.
Mickey Mouse.
Facebook.
Pictures.
Why does my mom take pictures of her breakfast and put it on Facebook?
I have no idea.
People write about all their personal business.
Personal business.
Yes.
So this is my Facebook.
You really have 3,000 friends?
Yes, I have 3,000 friends.
Liar!
Busted. What do you think when your parents put photos of you on Facebook?
That's just creepy.
Do you know what mommy does for a living?
She's a blogger?
She is. And what is that? What's a blogger?
Is that like the green stick thing that you know?
The green thing's up your nose. No, that's got a booger, not a blogger. Yeah, it's booger. Boogers.
We carry our phones wherever we go. They're with us almost every second of the day. We reach for them when we have a free moment, or we're curious. More than anything, we use our phones to connect with the people we care about.
So show me what I'm looking for. Save me, I'm lost. Oh Lord, I've been waiting for you. I'll pay any cost. Save me from being confused. Show me what I'm looking for. Show me what I'm looking for. Oh Lord.
So I'm stoked about this. Let me tell you why we're doing this, because that is an important place to start. If you don't know why we're doing something, then the what we're doing is going to make no sense. All right, so here is, you guys know that feeling you get on Thanksgiving? Like, not before you eat, but after you eat, and you're like, what did I just do to myself? Anybody, can anybody relate? Yeah, right? Like sometimes I feel like that after Chipotle, it's so much in one sitting that you're like, what am I doing to my body? I need to, like when you step, it's not that bad until you step back from the table and try to walk, like, oh no. Like, this is bad, right? So you don't really notice until you step back what all that eating did to you. And, or anybody ever been like skiing or snowboarding, and you go, especially, bless you, you go up to the mountain, it's tons of fun, you have a blast all day, and then you wake up the next day and your legs are just locked. You're like, oh no, like I am sore. Oh. And then you kind of walk to school like this, right? So, but here's the thing, you don't feel sore while you're skiing. Once you step, bless you, wow. Once you step back from skiing though, and you get a break from it, and you get to look at it, like what you did yesterday, then you're like, oh my gosh, I am so freaking sore. So you know how Thanksgiving dinner affects you after you step back. You know how skiing affects you after you step back. And my guess is that we haven't taken the same principle, because it's kind of an odd one, and applied it to social media. Have we ever taken some time to step back from social media and to think about actually what it could be doing to us while we were using it? And so, but here's the thing. This book that I hold right here, it's actually a really relevant book. It's a timeless book, so it's always timely. It's always got a good word. And this book actually tells us, has a lot to say about the issue of social media. Now it says, it does not say thou shalt not tweet during school, but it does say a lot of other good things. So Nathan, we throw out the first slide. It says this. It says, so be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. And 1 Thessalonians says, but test everything that is said. Hold on to what is good, and stay away from every kind of evil. Nate, you leave the slide right there. Thanks. So what this is saying is not saying, oh, thou shalt not tweet. It is saying, hey, think about what you're doing. Think about what your life says about you, or what your actions say about you, or what how the way you do things, including use social media, says about you. And so God's Word doesn't just direct us to just go with the flow because everyone else is doing it, right? It calls us to think about what we're doing and why we're doing it, to test everything, and to just not be naive and just go along without thinking about things on a deeper level. So this Unfriend Yourself series is a 3-week kind of experiment which is designed to equip and enable each and every one of us to think about social media from a higher level, to think about it and test it, and to think about, are we actually using social media in ways that we should be? Does social media have that effect on me when I step back from the Thanksgiving dinner table? Am I going to feel like, oh my gosh, right, from using social media? And we're going to, the 3 Ds, detox, discern, and decide about how to use social media. We're going to look at cutting-edge research, which I've been looking at for about a month, and also this timeless book, and what they both have to say about social media. And you would be very surprised to know that a lot of what this book says is exactly what the research now is saying. And so, all these people are saying, hey, we just found this new research. Like, well, actually you didn't. It was already written here a long time ago. But hey, God will get over it. So what I want to do is, I just want to let you know that I started not using social media today at noon. And it's already been an interesting journey to not have any of those apps on my phone, to not just be like, I have to be a person in real life? Crap! Right? So I love social media. I love using it. I use it a lot. So all the stuff we're going to talk about the next few weeks is not so much us knocking on social media, but I do want to challenge us all to think about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and does it affect us? Does it have an emotional, psychological effect on us? So my hope is that you'll stick with us for the next 3 weeks for this adventure. And I want to start us off with this. Has anybody heard this? I bet you the advances have. Answer this if you know the answer to this question. These things, all things devours. Birds, beasts, trees, and flowers. Gnaws iron, bites steel, grinds hard stones to meal. Did you get it, John? Slays kings, ruins town, and beats high mountain down. What was it, John? Time. Yes, time. It was, I think it was a really well-known fantasy writer wrote it. So you're like, Josh, why are you talking about time? Let me tell you, I'm going to talk about time in 1 second. But first, let's define it. Time, according to Webster's Dictionary, is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So you can't touch time, but you can feel its effects. You can't see time, but you can see its effects. Time is our most valuable. Sorry, I just spit. That was gross. Sorry, splashed it on the front row. Time is our most valuable asset, but it's also our most limited asset, and it's also our most wasted asset that we have. So how many of you would say that you don't really have a lot of time in your day? I would say that. A lot of time in your day just to just be a person and not be doing homework or whatever. Okay, I saw a lot of hands. So you don't even need half a brain to figure out that people on the plateau are busy. You can figure that out with even a quarter of a brain. So I just want to general survey the population. What do you do on an average day? Just call it out. What do you do on an average day?
Sleep.
Sleep. Minecraft. Okay, great. All right, good.
Cool.
I drink water. I heard someone say drink water. That's a good thing. What I want to do, I saw this video, and it's actually actually really thought-provoking and a little bit like, oh snap, a little bit of a wake-up call when I saw it. And so, Nathan, would you please play that video? It's next.
Yes, sir.
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities, like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
So, it's not meant to be a depressing video, but it is meant to show you how valuable and how limited, yet how wasted our time can be. So, since time is so important, we don't have a ton of it. It's so important that we take a quick peek at the time that we spend on social media. So here, as I'm thinking about social media, here's, I think, a pretty good cross-section of what people do on social media. And now what I'm going to do over the next 5 minutes is make fun of each one of you, one by one, because I love you, and sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves. So here's what we spent. Say, we saw that video, right? So you saw how limited our time was. This actually is going somewhere. It has a point. We saw how limited our time was, and yet here's what we spent our time doing. Number one, taking selfies. And it's like, it's a funny picture first of all, but it's like, oh my gosh, look, we're at Safeco. Oh my gosh, look, I'm at the Space Needle. Oh my gosh, I'm in the bathroom. Selfie. Like, this is what we do. We take selfies, and or if you've ever used Snapchat, that's like the epitome of bad selfies. It's just like, hey, look, I just put food in my mouth. Click, send it to everyone I know. Right? Right? What are we doing? Okay, number two. We showed the world our lunch on Instagram. It sounds ridiculous, but we actually do it. I do it. I'm guilty of a lot of these things. So sometimes we see a bucket of strawberries, and we're like, there's no way anyone's ever seen a strawberry like this before. I can't even describe to you the strawberries. Click. I put a filter on it. Okay, it's amazing. Or you say things like, you put captions like, if only you guys were here to smell this. Too bad it's not Smellstagram, it's Instagram, but whatever. So is anybody guilty guilty so far. Haven't made fun of you yet. I'm guilty already. Okay, number 3. We're going to keep going until everyone in the room has been made fun of. Number 3. You try to get as many followers as possible. This is an actual website called How to Get More Followers on Pinterest. Anybody ever use the hashtag followers, or hashtag follow back, or hashtag follow me, or hashtag follow, or hashtag I need followers, or hashtag I want followers, okay? We try to get as many followers as we can. Number 4, we try to get as many likes as possible, right? Anybody ever do this? On Instagram, hashtag 30 likes, hashtag 50 likes, or we're like, hey, we'll give you, you ever see those things like, hey, we'll give you a shout out if you're our 500th like. Or I think you're probably more guilty of this, is where you have your notifications set on your phone so that every time you get a like, your phone vibrates like, oh, another person, right? Okay? So we're all guilty. I know what you do is you look through all the likes to see who liked it, okay? Yeah. Number five, the 85 billion hashtags. Anybody ever do that? I'm not even gonna touch that one. Can't touch it. All right. Number 6. Who's seen this? Like I hate this one. This is the worst one.
I do not agree to this condition.
And then they'll give you this one to like make you feel bad. Like if you don't like God saw you, so if you don't share this, then you hate God. No, that's crap. Okay. Or the next one. Number 7. Are you the liker? So what I mean by the liker, you are the liker if you scroll through people's photos and posts, and you just click like but never comment. You have nothing to say, you just want to say it, I kind of like that. Okay.
I don't know what that like.
Right?
That's stuff like, oh, Gestalt. Like, oh, I like Gestalt.
So it's slightly creepy, but at least people know you're watching. Okay? Or it could be this last one, which is the ninja, and this is the person who doesn't like or comment on anything, and it's much creepier because you're watching, but no one knows you're watching. Right? It's really weird. Okay?
That's kind of weird.
So if
I like stuff.
If I have made fun of you, please put your hand up. I made fun of myself with most of them, so thank you very much. We have become a culture. Not every one of us in this room, I don't want a blanket statement or anything, but we've become a culture at large who's absolutely addicted to social media. In fact, Facebook addiction is Googled over cigarette addiction 350 to 1. That means for every one time someone Googles a cigarette addiction, 350 people have Googled Facebook addiction. So I want to show you some stats from the Guardian, what's it called? The Guardian and Huffington Post, about some symptoms of social media addiction. This is actually done by professional researchers who wrote reports about it. You may have social media addiction if one or two or more of these are true for you. You check the social media in the middle of a conversation. Someone's right there. You're just like, well, yeah, this is more important. You view social media the moment you wake up or right before you go to bed. If you're antsy from being unplugged from social media, if you've got a preoccupation with the internet or social media, like you'd rather be online than be where you are. Or here's where it gets a little more serious. If you withdraw from interaction with people, if you'd rather just do this than be with people, or if you have apathy towards interaction where you just don't care to hang out with people because you'd rather be on social media. So has anyone identified with at least 2 of these? I have. I totally have. Okay. This is going somewhere, but I need your eyes up here because I have a hard time. I get distracted when you're talking. Okay, so what is an addiction? Let's define addiction because addiction's a really heavy word to say. I have a social media addiction is kind of funky. So let's throw it up, Nathan. Addiction is this. This is taken off a research article. It can be defined as a dependence or a habit. Addictions help fill a need or calm an anxiety that a person has. Addictions can also give a person a false sense of being in total control, or at least become a way to avoid immediate problems. Using the substance they are addicted to, such as social media websites, helps people to release tension and feels good. This causes a person to become physically dependent on getting regular fixes in order to cope with everyday life. Whoa. So for some of you, for myself, I feel convicted. We just dropped kind of a bomb. Like, I didn't really know that was what was going on with social media in my life. So now what? So now some of you are like, okay, Josh, you got me thinking. Okay, maybe I'm not sold on this addiction word yet, but you at least got me thinking. What? Maybe I have a slight addiction, but now what? And so here's the thing. We understand what an addiction is. We have to understand why we get addicted, not only to social media, but just to things in general. And I wanna just get addicted to social media. Pause right there, and here's why. Here is why. Nathan, go to the next slide up. In the beginning, God created light. God saw that it was good. In the beginning, God He separated the land and sea. He saw that it was good. He created plant life. He saw that it was good. The sun, moon, and stars were created. He saw that it was good. Fish and birds were created. He saw that it was good. Land animals created. God saw that it was good. Genesis 2, the first thing in all of creation, the first thing in the entire Bible that God says is not good, is that it is not good for someone to be alone. It is not good for man to be alone. So first thing in the entire Bible, it's not good. This is even before sin came in. It is not good for man to be alone. Let's throw the actual verses up, Nathan, please. Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper just right for him. So the Lord formed all the wild animals, but there was still no helper. So the Lord caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. He created the woman, and Adam says, at last, thank you for not letting me marry all these animals. I get to marry a woman. This one is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She'll be woman because she was taken from man. This explains why the man leaves his father and mother, blah, blah, blah. Now man and his wife were both naked, but they felt no shame is an important part. No shame. The first thing in all of creation that is not good is for the man to be alone. So God realized, because he's pretty smart, that the man needed a helper. He needed a partner. He needed someone to be there with him. So he made Eve. And thus, the first human relationship ever recorded in history, because this is a history book, was born. And ever since that day, you and I, God has put this desire in us to have these genuine, deep, authentic, real relationships where we don't feel shame, where we don't feel guilt, where we can be ourselves and just be people. Ever since that day, in fact, we invest time and money. We do things like we go on retreats to build relationships with people. There's dating sites that have been set up to connect people in relationship. There's a ton of different ways to jump into a relationship with people, because whether you're Christian or not, you've got this innate desire to be in relationship with people. We crave them, we desire them, we people need relationships, because it is not good for man to be alone. It is good for us to be in relationships with people, not just dating. I'm not just talking about dating here, I'm just talking about relationships in general. Because relationships bring joy. Have you heard the term happily ever after? Right? That's a pretty big cultural word, especially when you watch Disney cartoon movies, right? Did you ever notice that the happily ever after never once happens before the two get together in relationship? The happily ever after never happens before the two get into a relationship. In the movies, happily ever after can only happen after the two fall in love. You've never seen a movie that ends with a single dude living happily ever after, okay? Right? It only seems to work when the two fall in love, when they're going to be in a relationship, when they won't be alone. So, culturally, even, we've tied this idea of happiness to not being alone. We've equated that, hey, I'll be happy as long as I'm not alone. I'll be happy as long as I am not lonely. So, which that also tells us is that culture will tell us if you are alone, if you do feel lonely, if you do feel isolated, there's something wrong with you. Because you're not as happy as you could be. Because happiness is tied to your relationship. How could you be happy? And one of our culture's biggest fears, yet greatest struggles, is loneliness. Since you and I were designed for relationships, God himself said it, it's not good for us to be alone. Relationships are an absolute basic need in your life. If you feel lonely, you don't have to raise your hand, but just think if you relate. If you feel lonely, you can seem like you're missing out on something. you can seem like you're disconnected from the world. You can seem like you're not worth it to other people. If you feel lonely, you can feel isolated from community. If you feel lonely, you can feel like your voice isn't heard or that your voice doesn't matter. Okay, loneliness is a lot of symptoms that go along with it. And social media, this is where social media is really sexy because it makes us think that our needs are being met. Our needs for relationships are being met because you're not going to miss out if you're tied up in social media because social media gives you a window into people's lives. You're not going to feel disconnected if you're looking at social media because you can become instantly and constantly connected. You're not going to feel, or you are going to feel worthwhile because there's a whole page and profile dedicated just to the legacy of you. You're not isolated from your community because your community is right here, my phone's not, in the palm of your hand, right? Your voice can be heard with everything you post, with every picture you say, and your voice can seem to matter because people tell you your voice matters because they like your status or they comment on it, right? And so, while there's nothing really inherently bad about selfies or wanting to get likes or followers or taking food pics and uploading them and all the rest, there's nothing inherently bad about that, but we have to step back and say, why do we crave it? Why do we have to upload the picture of our latest breakfast to Instagram and put the filter on it so that others may see what I had for breakfast? Okay? Why do we feel the need to show the world everywhere we go, show the world everything we do, show the world at least 4 of our meals each week, get more likes, get more followers, have people share or retweet what we say? How many of you posted a tweet or a Facebook status and someone shared it and on the inside you're like, yes? Right? Yeah. Me too. Why do we feel the need to view social media during every dull moment of our day? How come we can't just be people? So is it really just Selfie Sunday, or is it a way to make ourselves feel more worthy by posting a picture of us and then getting likes? Is it really browsing just a news feed, or is it a way to feel connected and numb feeling lonely? Is it really just getting more likes, or is it a way for us to feel more valued and cared for, like what we say actually matters to people? Is it really a social media addiction, or is the core of it us trying to avoid feeling lonely and isolated? Because we know that we cannot ever hope to live happily ever after if we're lonely. So if we can somehow numb this loneliness thing, we can at least feel some sort of false happiness. And if we get followers and likes and people want to see our posts and they retweet us and see our selfies, we dull these lonely feelings because we want it to seem like our voice has been heard. We want it to seem like we're worthwhile and that we matter. Yet, this whole time, you've got a Bible, you got this book filled with this God who's saying, it is the God who says, hey, it's not good for you to be alone, but he also says, hey, I hear your voice calling for attention. Hey, I know your deepest faults and still think you're worthwhile. Hey, I invite you into my community, into my family. Hey, you matter. You matter. The God of this Bible who said it's not good for man to be alone also throughout this book says you matter. Your voice matters. What you have to say matters. In fact, you matter so much to the Lord that he stepped down out of heaven onto earth and to prove how much you matter. You matter so much that God would rather be here and die for you than to live without you. And God says, your voice is so important to me that I want to hear and answer your prayer, and you're so worthwhile in my sight that I want to be with you forever in paradise, and you're such an important part of my world that I invited you into a bigger story than you could ever imagine, and I don't want you to be disconnected from me or feel disconnected, so I sent my son to take away your sins so that we could be connected, and I want to give you my best, but I'm having a hard time communicating these things to you because you'd rather spend more time browsing your news feed than opening the Bible. Where are you today? Where are you today? You all know, hopefully know, I love you and I'm crazy about you. I want nothing but the best for you. And I'm saying these things to challenge our view of social media. Not to say you're a bad person for doing this instead of doing this. That's not the point I'm trying to make at all. But I'm trying to say there is a God out there who is after your heart so powerfully, in such a force, with such magnitude, with such excitement, with such hope, that you will say yes and invest back in him, that he came to earth to die so that he can get your attention and say, hey, you matter. And I want to tell you how much you matter by getting you to read my word and to be with me. And I want to communicate to you how much you matter. But we so often just choose to look at our newsfeed and to find our worth in likes and on our selfies, and to find our worth in how many followers we have, and to find our worth and our value in how alone we feel. We try to numb this loneliness. Where are you today? Are you seeking to fill your needs for community, to be heard, to be loved, with what social media has to offer? Or are you seeking what God has to offer? What are you trusting to fill the needs in your life? Is it Jesus? Or is it social media? Or is it something else? You might not say social media outright, but would your actions prove you differently? When you get mad, where do you turn? Do you escape the situation by opening your phone and just browsing the latest news feeds so that you don't have to deal with what's going on around you? Or if you're sad, do you look through old posts that make you happy? Or if you're bored, do you look to social media for entertainment? When you wake up, do you reach for your Bible or your phone? When you go to sleep, do you pray or do you check your notifications? And I'm saying these things and I can relate because I do all these things that I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about spending so much time in the Word as I am. I am so caught up in social media, and I was talking with John Foster before, this series is just as good for me as it is for anyone else, because I need to hear and talk about these things just as much as anyone else in this room does. And so I am not trying to come here and condemn you and shame you and guilt you into saying, well, maybe you should open your phone more, or maybe you should open your Bible more than your phone. I'm trying to say, hey, we're all in this together, and we're trying to seek the Lord together. And even the one up here teaching struggles with prayer and reading the Bible and all these things that I'm talking about. But even though I struggle with that, we have to push ourselves together to think about, where are we finding our acceptance? Where are we finding our love? Is it through social media, or is it through the word that God has given us in Jesus Christ? Who or what do you seek to fill those needs in your life? Like I said, I love social media more than probably most in this room. And I'm not trying to shame anyone. But sometimes we have to hear a hard truth. Sometimes I have to hear a hard truth. So the challenge that I started this afternoon, and I already don't like it, to shut down my social media accounts from now until the end of this series. The series ends right before fall retreat. That Thanksgiving feeling where like your food looks great, then you eat it and you feel deathly sick, right? Or skiing is fun and then you're sore. We have to step back, just like we step back from the table at Thanksgiving, or step back from the mountain. We have to step back from social media in order to fully feel some of the effects of what it's been doing in our lives. And that's the main reason why I want to challenge you to do this. Not to say, you're not reading your Bible, so stop being on Facebook. So it's more like, no, the challenge is, like, we want to figure out what it's doing to us. Anybody ever go on a retreat, place where you didn't have access to your phone, didn't have access to Facebook? Would anybody agree that it was awesome to just be disconnected and not have to worry about the outside world? Like, you're just with the people that you're with. That's what I want to encourage over the next few weeks. So, Nathan, go back one slide. So pretty much, if you may have seen social media for senior high shut down today. Just so you know, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram will not be updated. No event invites are going to be sent out. No deadlines are going to be issued or reminded. Posts are restricted on the senior high students group and the student leadership group. That's what we're doing from the senior high level. Now, what I want to challenge us all to do together, personally. So Nathan, go ahead to the next one. And you don't have to do this. I'm not like saying, hey, you're a bad Christian if you don't do this, and get out of here if you're not going to do this. You're welcome to not do this at all and still come and enjoy the series and just be here. But if you want to get more out of it, I would challenge you to do it. So not log into any social media, have a friend change your password if necessary, and use the extra time. Now, you're going to have extra time. because you're not going to be spending as much time on social media. And I would use the extra time to invest in Jesus and in people. In Jesus and in people. And I say that because I know it's going to be so easy to go watch the next episode of Breaking Bad on Netflix or whatever it's on. And to just like, well, I'm not on social media, but I just saw 6 seasons of Parks and Rec. It's been great. I love having all this free time, right? What is permitted, I'm not going to say what counts as a social media thing because there's too many to list. I know I'll forget some, and it'll be like, but you didn't say this one. So, phone calls, texting, email, or if you're going to fully dive in, that's what we're going to say, hey, that works. And for leaders and students, we're going to, student leaders, that GroupMe thing is like texting, so we'll just count that. Because here's what phone calls, texting, and email do that social media doesn't. It's directed. It's focused attention, focused interaction on one person, or if it's like an email group, like a limited group of people. Not just, I'm going to send my status out to the world and then just see how many likes I can get, okay? And then the next page, we have journals that we've made. There's a lot of copies on the table right there in the middle of the room. What these journals have in them are day-by-day things that are they're designed to help you walk through this whole process of unplugging from social media, to give you things to do in the free time, to kind of guide you through, and to help you just like actually do this, and as others would say, to go ham with this. So, use one of your journals to guide you through, and there's day-by-day things, and you're going to get out of it what you put into it. Like I said, you don't have to do it. That's totally fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'd love to still see you next week, if I didn't scare you away this week. You'll get out of it what you put in. And the end goal, what we're working for at the end of the day is, I'll go back 1 second. Sorry. Is to see how social media has affected you, and if changes are necessary. On November 6th, we're going to jump back into social media together, and do our online habits need to change in any way? So this first week, on the next 7 days, Nathan, you had it right, is called Enjoy the Silence, and it's designed to just help you focus on you and Jesus. It's just like each day there's something that helps you focus on you and Jesus, and also there's one day that reminds you that Bark Night is coming and to invite friends. That was just a little sneak promo thing. Sorry, not that sorry. Anyway, enjoy the silence, you and Jesus. And then over the next coming weeks, we're gonna do like you and other people, you and stuff, and it's gonna be awesome. So, no one's gonna watch you, monitor your social media. If you use it, awesome, have fun. If you don't, awesome, have fun. But what I want to do is shut up, because you probably had enough of me. I want to just, I want to pray us out. Leaders, your small group questions are in the bin right there. On your way out, make sure you grab a Unfriend Yourself journal to walk yourself through. And then also a senior high follower tree form deadline next week. We'd love to see you at the back of that table. I'll pray. We'll sweat out of here. Lord Jesus, thank you for this good night. Thank you for each and every person in this room. And really, God, I just, I'm thankful for the fact that you push us to do the hard things. That you call us to challenge ourselves, to step out of our comfort zone, so that you can teach us, so that you can help us grow, so that we can learn more about what it means to walk in step with you. And God, I just feel convicted that maybe some of the stuff towards the end that I said was more convicting and guilt-ridden, and not so much grace-ridden. And so God, I just pray that you would forgive me of that and just help there to be grace abounding and no condemnation in this room. I just pray for your presence in small groups tonight, that people would just be open with where they're at. Pray for the next few weeks that the people that you're calling to do this would jump in. And I pray that the people who really don't want to do this, who really are against it, might entertain the thought that if they're really against it, maybe they're the people who need this most. And so, God, I just pray for your hand in small group. Bless our time. Thank you for each and every student here. They are loved. They are treasured. They are valued. They are worthwhile, not through social media, but through what you say of us. I pray all these things in your son's good name.